Poppy Playtime Chapter 4 is not a good game. From the many interesting design decisions to the most unplaytested, unoptimized game I've played in the past few years. But before we fully delve into that, I want to talk about Poppy Playtime in general from my perspective, because I think it helps a lot with many of the examples I'll make throughout this video. When Poppy Playtime Chapter 1 first released, I saw it as a good but short and well-crafted horror experience, ignoring all the different dramas that surrounded the game at the time. Skipping to Chapter 2, Chapter 2 was released as a paid and lengthier experience. For only €8, you were able to goon to Mummy Longlegs.
Man, she kinda cute though, I'm gonna be real.
Also, ignore the fact that the first chapter was paid, which they changed to free to play after the chapter's release. Now, personally, I didn't love the DLC, but I still enjoyed some parts of it, and it had a smooth and playable experience. And it was in fact a playable game. Now, skipping to Chapter 3, the game with the drug lord Cat as an antagonist, and the game which caused half the children in the world to turn into furries.
Okay, side note, I was looking up Catnap and Dog Day for example footage. By the way, don't do that. The first link that showed up was an Amazon link, which I think is a fanfiction book being sold. 107 pages. Bro, what did I stumble upon?
Now, Chapter 3 was where people, including myself, became more skeptical about the game. The game was much larger, even larger than the previous one. And with it came lots and lots of performance issues, bugs, and of course, pacing issues. For me personally, I actually quite enjoyed Chapter 3. It felt like it had cool enough content for me to ignore the problems with the game, chalking it up as just modern developer being modern developers. With the game having some of the best sequences in the Poppy Playtime franchise in my opinion. There was clearly some love and care put into it, and for the most part, the game worked well. But now we skip to Chapter 4. Oh boy, Chapter 4. Chapter 4 is around the same length as Chapter 3. The chapter took me about 3.5 hours to beat it, and for the first 1.5 hours of the game was completely passable. It ran okay and the gameplay was functional. And I can't say the same thing for the rest of the game. Audio bugs occurring. Sequence breaks.
What? Did I break the game? This is the wrong music.
Mission tab giving you the wrong mission. Multiple soft locks.
No, what? Go back. I don't think I was supposed to do that.
Easily falling out of the map. And much more.
I'm bugged. Let me out. Oh. They're kind of stupid, aren't they? Kill me. Oh my god, what was that animation? Why is it so bright? I'm going blind. This game's so bad. This game is so bad. Don't get grabbed. Oh, that was the worst chapter I've ever played.
Okay, so let's take a step back. At which point does the game go wrong? The first obvious bug starts happening around the 1.5 hour mark of the game, with the game's lighting system breaking in one of the areas, causing you to have to beat the level while being flashbanged. This is a reoccurring issue with the game that becomes more and more prevalent the further you play.
Hell, not he's
DLSS.
No, he's artificial intelligence. Say again? Latest generation of DLSS also generates beyond frames.
Now, skipping a bit of exposition and padding in the game, a new problem occurs. The first game-breaking bug. In short, you get attacked by one of the characters named Yarnaby, who is supposed to look for you while you hide and solve different puzzles. Now, I don't know why, but for me, Yarnaby never spawned in. And the funny thing is, I didn't even realize he was supposed to in the first place. Now, this is the good outcome of the game. If you were unlucky enough to have Yarnaby spawn in, you were in for a ride.
What? What?
His AI is either completely bugged or broken, or he's terribly programmed.
This is fucking bad.
He can kill you while you're hiding in a hiding spot.
Oh, this hiding place works!
The game can save at the wrong time, causing you to basically softlock, with the only way of getting out being reloading a previous save, which doesn't even guarantee that it won't happen again.
Area hysteria, gonna marry you. He's after me again.
What?
And worst of all, this section of the game just straight up sucks. Even for someone who didn't have to go through the pain of doing this while being attacked, I still ran into what I can only describe as one of the most confusing and amateurish game designs I've ever seen in the past few years. And I'm pretty sure I had to reload to checkpoint about 3 times for the game to actually work how it's supposed to. Either that or the game design is just terribly done. The scariest thing is I can't even tell which one it is.
Ah, here. Oh, that one. Wait, what? That turns the other one off? Ah, what? What is this puzzle? I'm so confused. Oh, why is the lever not there? What? Is the game broken? Wait, what? Oh, okay. Hello? What? Hello? Why is this part so buggy? What? Why is this part of the game so weird?
Anyways, right after this is a major spoiler sequence of the game, which is right after beating the puzzle.
Oh, okay, that was easy.
After finishing the puzzle, Yarnaby is supposed to chase you and have you run away from him, which will eventually lead Yarnaby to his demise. Now, everything seems normal, but progressing a little bit more, you meet one of your allies, Dowie, who gets frozen. Now here, you're supposed to pull this lever to unfreeze Dowie. However, the lever just didn't work.
What?
And I was here for a while, which is where I eventually reloaded my save. And after this point, all hell broke loose. You spawn in the section right after Yarnaby dies. However, you can still hear the chase music playing in the background.
What? What is happening? Why is there music here now? Why is there music? This is the wrong music. Music is messed up. That's fun. Alright, I'm playing the game this way, I guess. Alright. I love this music. Very nice music.
My only explanation for this is that he might have spawned at the start of the chase. However, since he never moves, the audio of the chase music never stops playing. So enjoy chase music blasting in your ear while you play. Oh, and speaking of, I believe from this point onwards, the game was straight up not fully playtested. One game theory I have is that the playtesters might have played specific parts of the game while being told what you're supposed to do. Because things like the audio issues, which I haven't even mentioned yet, are prevalent throughout the game. Now, if you don't know what the audio issue with this game is, well, every time you reload your save, the game will show you your most recent mission. But every time you reload the save, the audio for the mission update gets louder. The reason for this is I think the audio is stacking on top of itself every time you reload to a checkpoint. It can be from dying or it can be from just reloading to a recent checkpoint, which you're gonna do a handful amount of times. Again, this is a very noticeable issue if there were playtesters who played the game from start to finish, because there is no way in hell you will not be able to notice it. Skipping ahead, we get to the second boss fight of the game, who is the Doctor. Now, the Doctor's design is actually very well done. This also goes for the characters' designs, animations, and voice actors.
Oh, it's you!
I personally think they did a phenomenal job. Now, in the gameplay section of the game, you're supposed to avoid these TV head animatronics, which activate and chase after you. Now, starting off, I was actually really scared of this part of the game.
No. No. Okay.
These types of things genuinely terrify me. However, if you take a closer look, you'll notice that these AIs are terribly programmed.
You're accomplishing nothing.
You have to really try to even die in the first place. Anyways, defeating the boss fight will net you a new hand, which is called the Omni Hand. All it does is occasionally open a few doors. That's it. It literally does nothing else. So in short, from the start of this chapter, there's a talk about this thing called the Omni Hand. Now, to be fair, the Omni Hand is supposed to just be a tool that gives access to all around the facility. And I'm not really bothered by the fact that there's no real new mechanics in this chapter, but I think the puzzles in this chapter are generally more boring and confusing. And in my opinion, I just think it's a downgrade from the previous chapters. One massive big change I want to talk about that I haven't seen anyone else talk about is the lack of physics-based object inside chapter 4. In previous chapters, you were able to interact with most of the objects. However, in this chapter, nothing is interactable. You know, the whole thing with the gloves where you could see and grab things from far away just for fun? Yeah, that's almost completely gone. The only physics-based objects you can interact with are boxes which you can use to get to different places. And also 2 basketballs, which I think they were used to entertain children who didn't want to listen to 90% of the dialogue in the game, because they probably would have quit the game and watched the new episode of Skibbity Toilet. And why is it the most expensive chapter out of all of them? Now, everyone loves money, okay? I understand game developers wanting some dough.
It's a game we've dreamt of playing, and it wasn't until now that we have the hardware, the technology, and the team who's hard at work at home to make that dream a reality.
And I was actually never against Poppy Playtime's chapter price releases, both the first one and the second one, because I felt like chapter 3 had more going for it, which made sense why the game was more expensive. But there is no world where I would think this DLC is worth 20 euros. Now, I don't like the idea of comparing games, especially when it comes to pricing, but 20 euros for this is way too much. Now, after you beat the boss and get the Omni Hand, you're supposed to go back to the hub world. One problem, you can easily softlock yourself right here. Now, going forward on the left, there's a tram that you're supposed to go inside at this point in the game. However, if you're unfortunately feeling adventurous and decide to keep going forward, you'll be back to a previous area of the game, after which the game will lock you inside that room, causing you to lose a lot of progress. Now, thankfully, this chapter has a load game feature, letting you go back to every single checkpoint in the game. If this wasn't here, I'm pretty sure my game would be fully soft locked here. Going inside the tram will first of all break the lighting system of the game, of course, and then after that, your tram will click through some of the walls. And I know I already said this, but this is the point where the game completely falls apart. So we go back to the hub world where there's low quality textures for some reasons, and 2 sockets where you're supposed to put something in. But for some reasons visually, the second socket was bugged for me and it looked like something was already in it. Just a little minor bug, nothing too game breaking or crazy, but I'm just gonna point out most of the bugs from now on because I don't know, they're kind of funny. Now, in this point of the game, you're tasked to go back to somewhere you've already been before. However, the way they did it is kind of weird. So in the mission preview, the game tells you to find the foundation. Now, the game doesn't tell you where to go, however, there's invisible walls everywhere, so the game kind of leads you there. Now, ignoring the fact that the game is not loading correctly, you're supposed to go back to a previous area you've been. However, all of the collectibles in that area respawn with a new puzzle in your way, which wasn't there before, for absolutely no reason. Like, the puzzle just spawned. Continuing the game, you're supposed to collect dynamite to plant inside the facility to explode, I guess. So there's a certain point that you're supposed to explode a canister. Now, I'd like you to imagine in your head what exploding a canister would look like. Okay, I'm gonna show you what it looks like in game now. There's like no excuse for some of these, I swear to God. Now, after this point, rooms start to become empty, with the walls becoming more bland and less textured as you make progress. I've looked back and it's honestly very noticeable. Now, skipping some lore things, we finally get to the end where you're supposed to get chased by Doughy. Doughy being a schizophrenic Play-Doh. Now, a lot of things can easily break in this game. One that happens early on, very early on, is being able to clip out of this elevator while being chased, which basically soft locks you again and you'll have to go back to a previous save.
Very good game. And my frame rate's dead, by the way, so that's cool.
And here you're supposed to grab this zip line on the roof. However, if you decide to jump, which I won't even blame some players doing, you will fall off the map.
Help, help, help. Jump this way. Oh, 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 oh.
After that, the texture of everything inside the game just decides to dip, and after some sequence, we get to the final boss of the game. And oh my god, it's like everything wrong with the game all in one place. I am not even joking you one bit. Let's talk about all the bugs we've discovered throughout the game. Soft locking, check. Audio issues, check. Falling out of the map, check.
So much.
Low quality rooms, check. Unexpected glitches and bugs? Check. Game mechanics not working properly? Check. Check, check, and check.
This game's so bad. This game is so bad.
But now let me introduce you to the boss fight of the game. Now here you're gonna be fighting Doughy, of course. The boss fight is actually really simple. It all dumbs down to this. Freeze Doughy under a saw, drag saw down, and saw Doughy. Do this 3 times, you win. Now what goes wrong with this? What goes wrong with this boss? The canisters, they're supposed to stick to Doughy. They don't. The canisters having any coherent hitbox or collision? I turned the other way. Stable performance?
Ooh, I have no frames.
Don't make me laugh. Getting randomly flung around the map? It's not a bug, it's a feature. Glitchy hitboxes all around the wazoo? Yep, we got that. But let's ignore that. Let's ignore all the bugs I just mentioned in this specific part of the game. Is the boss fight good? No, all you do is run around, freeze him 3 times and put the saw down. How is this entertaining for round trip? All you do is freeze Doughy under a saw 3 times in a row. I also want to point out how similar this boss is to the fish monster from Resident Evil 5, and everyone knows that is one of the least interesting boss fights in that game. P.S. I love the fish guy in that game, he's literally one of my favorite characters, but even I have to admit that boss is definitely the worst boss. Anyways, at this point, my brain was completely rotting, so after defeating Doughy, I did what I had to.
I'm done.
And with that, the game basically wraps up and it's basically the end. And, oh, what do you know? Huggy Wuggy is alive. What? That's crazy. Before I end the video, I just want to say, this video isn't an attack on the devs of Poppy Playtime. This video is only meant to point out the issues with the release of Chapter 4. If Mob Games were to develop the chapter for a few more months, I'm sure they would have been able to patch out the game, but they didn't. And I think that's a problem. Because although Poppy Playtime always has that one bug that breaks the game in some way, it's never been as bad as this one. And especially coming from Chapter 3, I think it's a heavy downgrade. But like I said in the video, I think the character designers and animators did a fantastic job. It genuinely amazes me how each chapter is a massive improvement to the last one. In general, I find this topic really interesting, like how modern video games are supposed to be released first, then fixed later. However, I don't think I have to say that this is the incorrect way of developing a video game. Basically, in the end, Poppy Playtime Chapter 4, bad. Lamau? Anyways, I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye!
Today, part 4 just came out, and it's definitely a video game.
They should have polished this up.
Now, I was wondering if this was just me or other people were having these issues, so I looked at the Steam reviews, and there's such amazing reviews like, game crashed after I goofed around with the boxes a little too much. 10 out of 10.
What is this game?
It's just all the yapping. It was so character heavy. They spent more time doing the jiggle physics of his fat belly than they did like for any actual gameplay.
What happened to Poppy Playtime? What the fuck happened?